agenda up for me?
I can. Jason, would you mind making me able to share screen?
You should be good.
Oh, yep, there we are. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, and is everyone here?
No. Yes.
No Peggy.
No Peggy. Okay. So I would call for approval of the minutes for the meeting on February 22nd.
I just have one caveat. It says minutes from the December 2020 meeting, and I think it was actually January 2021.
On the agenda says that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes,
Or-
it does.
No, it's
It says February 22nd on the
But if you-
agenda.
But
on
if
the
you go-
minute,
If you go back
in
and
the
look at in the
2020,
written
yeah.
Oh,
minutes from the
yeah,
yes.
20.
In that paragraph, that second paragraph right there.
yeah.
Gotcha. That should be from the January 2021 minutes. You are correct. I can fix that.
Oh, thank you for catching that. Good eye.
Well, so I'll approve them with changes. Vote or move to approve with the change.
Okay,
Second,
good eye. Okay, all in favor?
I
I,
Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. Okay, and then we'll move on to the board business. We're gonna do another trustee short takes.
Yes, so I'm gonna stop the share and then optimize for the video, and we'll get right back to that. So this one's just on library policies.
Welcome to Short Takes for Trustees. I'm Beth Novolinsky, the Director of Marketing and Communications for United for Libraries. We are a division of the American Library Association for trustees, advocates, friends, and foundations. I'm here today with our Executive Director, Sally Gardner-Reed, and we'll be talking about policy development and approval. Sally, setting policy is an important role for governing boards, and often advisory boards assist in this process as well. What exactly is the purpose of library policies?
Well, library policies provide the framework within which library services are delivered and staff and facilities are managed.
yeah,
Essentially, library policies are designed to ensure equal access to library services and material, equitable treatment of staff and patrons, equitable development of collections and services, protection of patrons' rights and privacy, and intellectual freedom. You can see where I'm going with this, I hope. Library policies are really written to ensure that all people are treated fairly and equally. And it's what makes libraries, I think, the most democratic of institutions in our country. It's why I and most people who are involved with libraries are really proud of what we do.
I know there are many different types of policies in libraries, everything from what art can be hung in the library to who can use meeting rooms to what materials will be purchased for the collection. How are these library policies developed? It must be a very daunting task.
Well, actually, it's easier than you might think. Most libraries already have policies covering the areas that you mentioned and more. And when they need to be updated, or if they find they're missing a policy in a certain area, they can usually find some samples online to look at. Most libraries are very generous with sharing their policies online. And in fact, the New York Library Trustee Association has gathered many of these policies together in one place. So it's a great resource. So typically what will happen is the library director will, when a library policy needs to be updated, she or he will look online and find some samples that seem to fit that particular library, will draw up some drafts, take that sample to his or her board, and they will discuss it, see if it's consistent with their library, with their own personal city laws and state laws and work it out and finally adopt it. And it's very important that once they adopt that policy or the update of that policy, that they're ready and willing to stand behind it.
Is that process ever difficult for the board?
It sure is. I mean, when there is a challenge to a collection, that is, as I said, can be a very emotional time. Nobody likes to be associated with some challenges that are calling materials pornographic or that they're damaging children. Nobody likes to be on the other side of those kinds of statements. But again, as I say, if you're making a policy rationally outside of that emotional time and the material was selected within the framework of the policy, then it should be defended by the board. There are other issues too, and they usually are in the realm of intellectual freedom. For example, the meeting room policy. It can be difficult when certain groups want to avail themselves of the use of the meeting room policy. For example, if you had the Ku Klux Klan wanting to meet there, that could be a difficult time and for the board to stand up for their policy. But if it's open for any group in the community to use that meeting room, then perhaps they still have to stand up for the policy and let that group use the meeting room. So you can see that there certainly could be times when it would be difficult.
You mentioned earlier that most libraries already have policy manuals or policies in place, and if they need to update it, there are samples out there that they could look at to help them in that process. Is there ever a time when a library board might need to assist in developing a policy from scratch?
Yes, I imagine that's happening more now than ever before. As technology in particular is changing so rapidly these days, I think early adopters are finding that they are having to write their own policies absent any samples out there. I think of the 3D printer, for example. I know libraries who were early adopters of that technology and they had to write their own policies. So they had to think of things not only terms of use, how long could any one patron use the 3D printer and for how long, but they also had to look at issues such as copyright or patent abuse, and they even had to look at issues such as intellectual freedom. So, for example, children be allowed to make sex toys with the 3D printer. So it was a pretty interesting frontier for that new technology. And even as more and more technology arises to deliver content, libraries' material budgets are becoming stretched thinner and thinner. So boards are having to think about time limits on use of these new technologies and also how many devices can people check out at one time, and trying to manage increasing devices and decreasing resources to pay for them. So I think that they are starting to write their own policies.
Is there a best practice to help library boards and directors stay up to date with their policies?
Yes, I think the best practice I know of is simply to rotate at least one policy through each board meeting as part of the agenda. So every month, one policy is reviewed, updated as needed, and reapproved, and so on. So if you, for example, had 30 policies and in 3 years, you would have 30 policies reviewed and updated and 6 months remaining for other issues, or to develop new policies as needed. But I do think it's very important that the policies continue to circulate through the board agenda and the board process so that each and every individual board member is aware of what policies exist and understands them and has an opportunity to discuss them.
Okay, we've talked about how governing boards adopt these policies and stand behind them. Would that be the same for advisory boards as well?
It probably depends more on practice than on policy of the library and the city and the county in which the library operates. Because typically when it's an advisory board, the library is a town or city or county department. And so those policies perhaps go through the city management structure. So the advisory board may be granted by the city management the authority to approve the policies, or they may be asked to preliminarily approve the policies for the city manager or mayor's final approval. So I think that's probably more on a case-by-case basis. But I think when the advisory board is involved in the policy making and approval, even if it's preliminary approval, it's a way for them as representatives of the community to put their stamp on a document that is going to provide that framework for service. So I think it's a really good opportunity to engage community in that policymaking process.
Thank you, Sally. This was a really good discussion about an important role for trustees, both governing and advisory. And for our viewers, we'd like to let you know that we have provided another list of resources to help with your policy development and approval process. Your library director will give you this list of resources. We invite you to explore them. And if you have any questions, please ask those of your library director. Thank you.
So as always, now have a question. I do think we should review policies. It's smart practice to do so. The question is, should we try and do that while we're still meeting virtually, or put it on hold for the 3-4 months and then start tackling a policy a month once we can meet together face to face?
So Patrick, is there an extant document with all the policies in it that you can distribute to us? Or maybe you have and I haven't noticed it yet.
I can't remember if when you were brought onto the board this past fall, if we emailed that to you or not, but yes, it is a giant, we call it the policy manual, but yes, everything is in there. Circulation policy, collection development policy. I'm happy to pass that along to you.
Yeah, if you have a PDF version or something, then
Yeah.
that would be informative.
Okay.
Is it all online, Patrick?
I am not sure if it is linked on our website or not. It just needs to be available when people ask for it. So I don't know if available means here I can email you this form, or you're in the library, so here, look at this binder, or what, but we can look at putting it online. I know other libraries do.
Well, I personally would feel more comfortable discussing important issues like policies and stuff like that in a person environment. I find this Zoom meetings to be quite difficult sometimes to get your point across or get the other person's point of view without disruption and this and that and everything. And I think that we've been dealing with policies for so long now that there's probably plenty in place that we could continue in this format, since we're really not open that much anyway, until we can finally meet face to face. Even if we're masked, I think it would be easier. That's just my opinion.
Absolutely. And this isn't, we would just be reviewing the policies that are there, making sure they're current. We're not asking, I'm not saying that we need to adopt brand new things.
No. And I think that we should know about them. We should know what they are.
I mean, for example, last month we adopted a whole new policy that rolls into our circulation policy with the hotspots, right? So that was new, and we reviewed that going into it. So that kind of thing. I'm happy to do whatever. I can definitely, I will make sure that I email a copy of that to everyone, policy manual, so that you at least can, at least I'm off the hook for saying that I did my job and gave it to you. And then when we want to go forward and review a section at a time, we can do that.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Leslie, you're not.
I'm muted. Does anyone else have any questions about what we just watched or about policy? Okay. Believe we are going to move on to our next item of business, which is, I believe it was the library report.
Well done. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm going to actually do the first part without sharing the report. I did type that up. I'll bring that up so everyone can look at my pretty graphs. But the biggest news is we're open.
Hi.
I have seen
Yay.
some of you in
Yay.
here since then. And I'm sure others that I missed because I was back preparing for this meeting or doing something else. But people are in the library and they're not just staff or utility workers. And I am so happy. The first day so this is, I guess, technically the beginning of week 2. We opened up on the 15th. And I just have to tell the feel good story. 2 separate kids came in that had been waiting an entire year for us to open because we closed 364 days before we reopened. They had been waiting nearly a year to come in and get their library card. And so they came in. Very first day that we opened, there was about, I mean, we open at 11 in the morning. So, you know, if people are working, it's not prime time to be waiting on our door. But we had about a half dozen to 10 people waiting for us to open the doors on that very first day. But yeah, so we have passed out library cards to go along with our circulation report. You'll kind of see how that ties together. If I'm understanding the reports that I run instead of the ones that are just emailed to me that I trust much more, over the last week, just those 4 days, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday that we've been open, we've checked out over 800 items in just that week, where that is, I mean, we're definitely above average because now people are coming. We've had people come from other libraries, their home libraries are Salem or Monmouth or anywhere else in the consortium, and they're coming because they're seeing we're open. So we've had 0 issues enforcing social distancing or mask wearing, no problems that the staff have told me about that I haven't seen either. Everyone's just really, really happy to be back into the library. So that is first part of the update. Number 1 is that we are open and it's been great. Report. So yeah, you can see like we're averaging around 3,000, 3,500 is the high items circulated and renewed. So, you know, 1,600 in a month, or excuse me, 1,800 in a month was the first time circ high, and we did 800 just last week. So we will see that increase, obviously, for the physical circulation with us being open. I know Sierra came in and had, I don't know how big your stack was, but it was great to see you and get that checked out. So things are going out the door there.
I know I have a stack waiting I need to come get too. So
Yeah.
we will be open today until 20 minutes ago. So you can do curbside tomorrow or come in on Wednesday. But we would love to see you. Our eCirc is continuing another month-to-month increase, as you can see. That bottom one is February, because February is kind of always the low, but we did increase over 100 and almost 120 ebook circulations from last year to this. So yeah, February 2020 to February 2021, we saw that increase again right there. So all of our circulation, physical and digital, are continuing to go up, and that is awesome, especially considering what's going on. As far as the weeding project goes, we shipped off another 18 books, or excuse me, 18 boxes full of books to Better World. It would have been, if we opened the 15th, it had been the 11th, the Thursday before that, just so that we cleared out the space where we had been storing all of those. And so I expect that March sales total to grow as well. But we've seen, I mean, we hit our 3-4 months and we have our over $100, which that last column is the one you're looking for, which means the friends should get a check. If you remember, they don't send one unless it's higher than that. And so now we've got it. And so we'll get something coming back to the friends right there. And then as far as finance goes, they were still, last week as we were getting documents for this meeting together, the city's finance team was still working on all of the month ends for last month and didn't have that statement that I've provided to you in the past. So the update really is just that we submitted the budget to the city on time. Hopefully Marilyn will let us know if there's a big issue with that. I did ask for some increases. These were things that were told to me day one, month one on the job, is that we need to redo the roof and we need to restripe the parking lot. So I did ask for that. You may remember that we asked in a month or two ago about the clock, getting that repaired and juggling things around. I submitted the order, the clock face design, the hands, all that stuff. And I think we're just waiting on it getting shipped from wherever that company's, New England somewhere, to get it shipped to us, and then Public Works will get it put in. So we've made the order. I believe that they're gonna end up giving us 4 new clock faces so that they're all the same instead of just having the one sealed so that the weather doesn't affect it, and all of that stuff there. And then we've also, as more books have come in, one of the exciting things for me that I've seen is that we've, in going through the collection and weeding, found a lot of the Spanish language collection was old and outdated. And so I've actually got a couple of catalogs here that we're going through of recently published and up-to-date Spanish language materials, adult, youth, or children, teens, and adults, that we're looking to add to those collections and get some more modern looking and feeling items in there. It's been good to see. We've had, obviously a few new items everywhere for our new display, but all of those ones that we keep pulling new, especially in the Spanish, in our face out displays, we have to keep replacing them because someone comes in and sees them and checks them out. So I'd like to see that continue to happen. And in this particular case, I've reached out to our 2 staff who are Spanish speakers and asked them to help me go through the materials as well to see what are the kinds of things that they want. So kind of working together to increase the collection in that area as well. As far as the weeding goes, we have made it through the H's in general fiction, author, last name. So about halfway done with our adult fiction collection. Then we'll have the young adult and the children's still to go. But the majority of the things that we're going to be weeding are going to be coming from adults. So I feel probably about 2/3 of the way done with this project. So, and that is what I've got for report. Happy to entertain any questions you may have.
Well, Patrick, this is probably for the Friends of the Library thing, but I know Stan called me and said they were going to open up the library, the old library, for book sales. So has he, and I know he probably told me when, but I can't recollect. What, did he already start, or?
So my understanding is, and well, would you prefer that we hit this now or wait until we get to the Friends on the agenda?
Okay, we can wait.
I've got an answer for either time. I just want to make sure we hit what we're doing.
So, Leslie, what do you?
Does anyone have any other questions about what Patrick just presented? Because we could just move on and talk about it during the Friends
Okay.
part. If no
I'll
one
start
has-
off then, Nancy, and then you can give the committee report. How's that?
Okay, we haven't met, so there isn't much to report other than what I was just bringing up, is the fact that we expect to open up the old
Yeah.
library again. He told me Tuesdays and Thursdays that they're going to try to be there. Now, whether or not and like I said, I can't remember when he said they were going to start, but I know one of the things he's going to do is come over and get some of those books from the.
Yeah, so he told me he and Sandy were able to get their first dose of the shot. They don't have the Johnson & Johnson version of the vaccine, so they do have to go back for a second one. And they were going to hold off on opening until they both had their second vaccine. And so it looked like, if I'm remembering correctly, it would be about April 9th is when they
Okay.
were scheduled for that. You are correct in saying Tuesday and Thursday, and his thinking was where the library is open right now, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, they wanted to try and fill that gap on Tuesday and Thursday. And then we showed him, I believe I showed you, Nancy, the last time you were in our corner back in the meeting room that's full of boxes to go to them.
Right,
He was going to schedule a time or figure out a time that he could just bring his truck and back up to the door, and we would load all those boxes that are full of items to go to the book cell, and I would help him load them up and then unload them over there. I don't know when that's going to be, but I know he wanted to do that before they open, because there's nothing stopping them from going through those items and getting them ready on the shelves over there, even if they're not open to the
right.
public yet.
Okay, good, yeah. That's good news because we make it a couple of $100 a quarter out of that book sale, which is when we need to do it now. Of course, once things open up a little bit, we should be able to do a little bit better in the donations and fundraising. But right now, we're not meeting or having fundraising drives or anything like that, obviously.
No, and it's totally understandable.
Yeah. And I'll be looking forward to that $100 check, Patrick.
Me too.
Yay.
We've got a list of where it's going.
You've already got you and Leanne have already got the list made up, huh?
Of course.
So Patrick, a question regarding the donations. I am sure there are many people like myself that have got some books collecting. And I'm curious if it'd be, worth putting something on the reader billboard about got books to donate, bring them here or whatever, in terms of drive-bys, knowing that here's how to bring books in. I don't know if you want them to come in the front door or the back door, or how that goes.
Yeah, I'd like to do that, but I'd like to hold off until we're a little more in the flow and have more space back there. I've got, well, we've got a few piles because the donations have kept coming, but we obviously shifted phases from going through the donations to getting ready to open in the last couple weeks before, or last few weeks, getting ready. So the donations have kept coming and we're starting to slip a little bit. So
you don't have a shortage of books to go through to get
oh no,
processed and moved
no, we're
over
good.
to the friends or shipped to the book buyer. Okay.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people have been like me and have been using this time at home to purge. I have like 6 boxes of books to bring you, Patrick. So,
Wonderful.
Oh, moving helped me get rid of that, but
Yeah.
there's a library in East Idaho that has more books than they did before.
But the Friends of the Library are always thrilled to have donations. Absolutely thrilled.
Yep.
Yep.
So we'll get going and I'll work with Stan to see when he can come and we'll get things over there.
Okay, great. Thank you. I remember now that you mentioned it, that he said something about the second vaccine shot, that they wanted to be really careful. And so we discussed some of the things about not making the restroom available to people,
Mhm.
so that they didn't have to sanitize it every time, that kind of thing. So certain little elements like that of when they open up again. And both Stan and Sandy are very conscientious about that.
And I will say they look to be doing good. Sandy was in the library today,
Good.
so they're out and about and doing good from the shot. So that's good to hear.
Super. It's the second one I understand is the devil. The second shot you get side effects from. So we're getting ours on the 14th of April. Yay, yeah.
And the state library did just put out the library workers are rolled into the new updated 1BC Group 7, whatever. April 17th is the day that library workers and staff can now go and be eligible. So I've passed that along. I know some of my staff are going to be raring to go and others will get it when it's ready, but they're excited.
Great. Good news.
Awesome. Yeah, that actually answers a question I was going to ask if if the library staff, now that you've opened to the public, knew when they could get the vaccine.
Yeah, it was really interesting. We were talking about it today, me and a couple of the people here before we opened. And then right as they walked away and we kind of figured, well, I think CDC says, et cetera, but we'll have to double check. 30 seconds later, the email from the state library came in and said, hey, no, we've got clarification and you're eligible for this. So it was an easy research on my part.
That's great.
Okay, well, I have nothing. Marilyn, do you have anything to add to the Friends?
I do not have anything to add other than I've gotten my first shot and my second one is due this Thursday.
Yay. And then you have to wait 2 weeks after the second shot.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks. So we've gotten ours and it's like 2 weeks afterwards.
Well, I'm kind of looking, kind of not really looking forward to the second because from everybody I hear, if you're an older person like I am, kind of older, that you have a harder reaction to it, the second shot, because your immune system is in there fighting like crazy. Yeah. So,
well, gratefully, I got the Pfizer instead of the Moderna. That Pfizer seems to have less
does it?
response.
Oh, okay. Good. Okay, I'm done with my report.
Okay, Leslie, do you need the agenda again?
Yes, please. Sorry,
Okay.
I wasn't quite that good.
No, you're all right.
You're good, not that good.
Yes. Okay. And so I guess next we're going to talk about unfinished business, the strategic plan.
Yes, and so all that is Leslie and Stephen and I have not been able to meet.
No.
And so I'm taking this time with both of you here and us being publicly at a public meeting
To shame me.
schedule a
It's
time
me.
when we can get together.
It's me.
When can we get together?
So, and I apologize. I have been really swamped with work and with Winnie. I can probably meet. She has another round of chemo next week. So,
Okay.
I could probably meet in the afternoon sometime next week because it's in the morning. So yeah. Yeah. And again, I apologize. Or we could meet in 2 weeks from today, if that's not soon enough, I could totally make time next week. I could
If it's
figure something
before the
out.
next board meeting, it's on time. So
How about
2
we
weeks.
meet in 2 weeks because looking at my calendar, not next week, but I guess the second week of April, I'm actually work-wise pretty open. So I could definitely do that.
Stephen, am I correct in remembering that you said afternoons are best for you?
Yeah, we're into a new term. I have got a lot more extreme flexibility on Thursdays.
Ooh, Thursdays would be good for me too.
Yeah, so let's just nail something on a Thursday. So,
Okay,
I could-
well, a week and a half from now is April 1st, and that is my wife's birthday. But we could do April 8th. That is a Thursday. Would that work for either or both of you?
That would work for me.
that's for me.
Is 4 p.m. okay, or do you want to meet
I was
earlier?
gonna say I have a meeting. The only meeting I have that entire afternoon right now is a 3:30 to 4:30. So any other time works for me.
And I'm free at any time.
This shouldn't last longer than an hour, and if it does, we're doing it wrong. Because all we're doing is going over how this ties into the city's 2040 vision. And then I also pulled out the public library standards from Oregon Library Association to kind of give us some guides on where we need to go. if there's where we need to go. So let's say you said 3:30.
Yeah, I have a 3:30 to 4:30, but that's the really, as of now, the only thing I have on my calendar in the afternoon.
I will send you both an invite for 2:30 on April 5th.
8,
Okay.
What did I say?
Eight,
the 5th, that's
fifth.
I
Monday.
did. I definitely meant the 8th though.
Okay, thank you. Oh,
That's why you're around. Okay, so we will do that and then we'll have a report on where we're at with the strategic plan for next meeting.
okay, sounds good.
Great.
Next was new business and that's blank unless anyone has something and then you can adjourn.
No, I just want to declare for public record that I've been doing a lot of thinking about the strategic plan, however.
Oh, good.
Because we
Good.
always, you can't be in higher ed without strategic plans. And
Yeah,
we always know they're rolling plans too, because the strategy changes, so.
I will make sure that's added to the minutes. Too.
and a lot of my actual job involves strategy, so I don't know if that counts.
That's right, that's right.
You're both doing great. Thank you again.
Like I technically belong to the operations and strategy team in my group. So hey, strategery. Yes. But we will do this. It'll be great.
Well, the rest of us are looking forward to your report.
So am I. So since that was the only new business, I am
that was technically old business.
Old business,
But there was no
sorry.
new business
and there is no new business.
unless someone has something now.
So does anyone else have anything? Okay, so I guess it is 4:39 and I will entertain a motion to close our meeting.
Move to adjourn.
Second, okay, well, there we go.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.